In 1948, the Marshall Plan, also known as the European Recovery Plan, was set into motion by the U.S. to help rebuild Germany and other European nations that participated in World War II. The U.S. was in the perfect position to offer financial assistance, considering the fact that they were viewed as economically strong. It was also convenient that the U.S. saw Europe as vital to the prevention of communist expansion across the continent. Secretary of State George Marshall thought that if they intervened financially and helped Europe rebuild their nations, that the U.S. would not have to worry about the fear and desperation component that led Germany to accept Hitler's reign. The Marshall Plan outlined the U.S.'s hopes for Europe. The U.S. aimed to rebuild the war-devastated regions, remove trade barriers, modernize business and industry, and prevent the spread of communism. Although the plan would help Europe, it also required a lessening in interstate barriers, an increase in productivity, labor union membership, and the adoption of modern business procedures. To rebuild the economies of Europe, the Marshall Plan said that European nations would receive nearly $13 billion in aid, which initially resulted in shipments of food, staples, fuel, and machinery for the United States, and later led to an investment in the industrial capacity in Europe. These 4 years of help lasted until 1952 and restored Europe to its former financial state.
In 1949, the Organization for European Economic Cooperation was created to help distribute the aid money from America. The OEEC distributed American aid to the various member countries. These countries had to agree where the money was going to be distributed. In 1949, the American government began advocating economic integration between the OEEC countries and promised to give additional aid if the countries began to remove trade restrictions between themselves. Through this, Americans would be able to freely trade with Europe and also help speed up the recovery for Europe's economy.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization at the time provided a collective security against the Soviet Union, promoted democratic values, and encouraged cooperation on defense and security issues, hoping, in the long run, to prevent conflict. During the Cold War, the collective defense arrangements in NATO served to place the whole of Western Europe under the American nuclear umbrella. In the 1950s, one of the first military doctrines of NATO emerged in the form of massive retaliation, or the idea that if any member was attacked, the United States would respond with a large-scale nuclear attack. NATO, although considered a peace treaty, created a threat against the Soviets during the Cold War. As we see now, NATO has lasted the Cold War and has expanded to include some former Soviet states. It remains the largest peacetime military alliance in the world.